If you haven't been able to tell by now, joy and laughter is one of the things that gets me through life, along with silence, which is what we'll be talking about today. So I could dramatically take off my watch and set it right up here where it looks like I'm paying attention to it, but that would give you a false sense of hope. Because I just start talking and I don't know when to stop. So I need a volunteer from somewhere in the back of the room, anyone who's comfortable, to watch the time for me. And when I have 5 minutes left, not 5 minutes before service ends, but I have 5 more minutes to wrap things up, if you could just raise your hand. Would someone in the back do that for me? Please raise your hand and show me that you do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That means now I don't have to pay attention to my watch.
I don't understand the assignment.
You don't understand?
I don't understand the assignment. How, you have a time limit in mind?
Well, brother, I could stand here and preach for 3 hours. And I'm respecting that y'all came this morning on this beautiful day when you could be outside. But I don't know if there's usually a time limit for the sermon.
I don't either.
About 25 minutes. Okay, it's about 25 minutes. Oh my gosh. Man, I got 15 minutes at my church. So this is great. This is great.
I got it.
We can compromise and make it 20. I like that.
20 minutes. 20 minutes I'll give you the assignment, right?
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, sir. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm supposed to be doing a reading. Here we are. So, silence is one of my coping mechanisms in life, along with humor, along with spirit, along with nature, along with God. However you identify that oneness within you that reminds you that you are connected to all things. All things. So this is a book I've recently picked up. It's called Just Listen, A Guide to Finding Your Own True Voice. And it's written by Nancy O'Hara. I just want to read you an excerpt out of her book this morning. Only when you establish a relationship with silence and are able to sit comfortably with it, does your inner life become dynamic and open to the miracles of the universe. In silence, we nurture our souls. We learn about ourselves and others. We hear our inner voice and face our deepest fears. We welcome our profound joys and practice all that we need to know to get along in our non-silent lives. It is in silence that we begin to take baby steps toward developing a powerful practice of prayer and meditation. It is here that we learn that anything is absolutely possible. We begin to envision for ourselves a life beyond our wildest dreams, where we acknowledge to ourselves that such a life is ours for the asking. Would you join me in prayer this morning? Creator and loving God, we come to you as a community, knowing that you were here with us when we woke up this morning, when we put our feet on the ground, and when we entered this hallowed, sacred space. We made the choice to be present with you this morning. Clear our minds and our hearts that we might lay down anything that we brought in and be present for the hearing of your message this day. Edify us, encourage us, lead us. In the name of all love. Amen. So, just a 2-minute blip about myself. I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church, a very strict one. Was raised in a very strict Christian home. And God was very important to me from the time that I was very little. God has always been important to me. As I got older and started having more questions that my church couldn't answer, I began to wonder if my church really had all the answers that they said they did. And as I ventured out into the world, I came across a lot of different traditions. Buddhism, centering prayer, a lot of mantras and sutras, Native American spirituality. But the thing that I needed most to fill my soul was I had come out to my family and my church and my friends. And that had really limited my churches, my family, and my friends. Until I found the United Church of Christ, a still speaking voice in our culture and in our world that said, no, we have the answers, we know the limitations, and you don't fit within those. So I went to Eden Theological Seminary, I have a Master's of Divinity degree, and I still love God. I still love God. So I want to thank you as a community of welcoming and opening minds who know that you don't have all of the answers because you are rare. And you are a blessing to people like me and to people like others who are still searching for a safe place to find love. So thank you. So I want to start today with an exercise, and I don't mean one of these because I don't do those. Apparently you're healthier if you do those, but that's not me. But we're going to do a listening exercise, and I will lead us. So for those of you who have just become anxious about needing to do something, don't worry, you have no responsibility. It's all okay, but we're going to observe some time of silence. Now, I told my daughter, who's 11, I said, oh, I so wish you were coming with me this weekend so that you could hear my sermon on silence. Now, I know my daughter. She can't do silence. The generation growing up today, they can't do silence. And if we're honest, the extroverts in the room, silence is kind of uncomfortable for you too. But I promise we'll all make it through, and it'll be great. And if you feel uncomfortable doing something I'm asking you to do, please know that you have the free will to not do what I'm asking. Okay? This is an individual response to this exercise. So what I want you to do, the first thing is going to be really, really easy. I'm going to ask you to talk to each other as if you were at the Wisconsin State Fair. Okay? Yeah. I want you to talk to each other.
What ride do you want to go on?
Not yet. Racine. You are with silence. You all just
Going on the car.
Now, in order to do that, okay, come back up here. See, I just let y'all go. It's something. So I'm going to let you do that for a couple of minutes. Then I'm going to raise my hand. I might actually start waving my hands. And what I want you to do at that moment is close your eyes and listen to what you hear next. Now I want you to keep in your mind what it is during that first level that you're hearing. And I'm going to be playing some sound, and I want to see if you can hear it. And then after 2 minutes of this sound, I'm going to shut off all sound completely, and I want you to pay attention to what you can hear during that time. Okay? So we're going to talk for a little bit like we're at the fair. I'm going to wave my arms. We're going to be quiet with our eyes closed because that will help us focus on our hearing. And then 2 minutes after that, I will turn off what I have playing on my cell phone, and we're going to listen to the room. Okay, everyone got that? All right, so here we go. Hey, you guys want to talk to each other like you're at the fair? Go ahead.
Jesus, we tried those Sundays.
Did you feel the energy in the room when we were all talking loud with each other? And the difference in the energy right now? There was a lot more energy in the room when there was chaos, talking loud, laughing. And now that we've calmed down our spirit, there's a different energy. It's one of solitude, peace. Maybe you got lost in thoughts, and that's okay. Maybe you remembered you forgot something to do this morning, and that's okay. So let's come back to a place of a little higher energy, not quite as loud as we were talking at the fair. Did anyone hear what I had playing on my cell phone while we were at the fair? Did anyone hear that? No. And it was playing the whole time that you were talking to each other. That's the first level of sound. Okay, what did you hear hear when I waved my arms and we first became quiet? What did you hear? Just yell it out.
Birds, different kinds of birds, frogs. Nature. The air conditioner, nature.
Oh, yeah, the whistle.
A whistle. Water. Did anyone hear water? Water. Thank you. Now, all of that level of sound was playing underneath our talking. Now, when I turned off my cell phone, which I hope is really off because I'm really bad at electronics, so if this starts ringing, I apologize already. When I turned off my cell phone sound, what did you hear then? Let me hear.
Air conditioner. Some feet tapping.
I heard the chairs creaking a little bit.
Heard the chairs creaking. A cough.
Did anyone hear the two birds that I heard? No, because of the air conditioner. That's right. So we've got man-made noise, which really kind of is the crux of all of the noise, if we're honest. So it's interesting that when we become silent, it does not mean that it negates all sound. Because God created some amazing sounds in nature. So I was outside when I got here and I walked around a little bit on the golf course and I was, the band was here. You gotta love the band, they get there early. The band was here and I took a walk outside, there weren't any golfers. And you know what I heard? I heard birds, I saw chipmunks, the flowers, there were bees that were pollinating. I heard all kinds of things. And not 10 minutes later, it was all drowned out by golfers, hitting balls, talking about what they did last night, talking about what they're going to do tonight, gossiping about things. The beautiful sound, the natural sound that God created is always playing. We just aren't always quiet enough to hear it. So we find Elijah this morning in what sounds like an idyllic situation. I would love to be in a cave somewhere by myself. Just one of my dreams. Just one of my dreams. So we find Elijah in a cave waiting for the Lord. Now, this might sound like an idyllic situation, but what you don't know about Elijah at this moment is that he's running for his life. He has spent 40 days and 40 nights walking through the desert with very little water, very little food, and very little sleep. He is afraid, he's hungry, he's tired, and he finds himself in this cave waiting on the Lord. Now, the Lord seems to come in loud, thunderous sound, as a mighty wind that is so strong that it tears apart mountains. That's going to create some sound in nature. But God wasn't in the wind. And then after that, I'm going to look at my notes. And then after that, an earthquake. Again, something from nature that causes a lot of sound. You're not going to miss it, even if you're having a conversation. But the Lord wasn't in the earthquake. And then the fire. Unfortunately, in our day and age, we are all too familiar with what forest fires sound like. And they are very loud. But God wasn't in the fire. God wasn't in these natural sounds. He was in the quiet murmur that Elijah heard at the end of all of that sound. And he felt so connected and so present with God that he took off his mantle and wrapped it around his face. He was silent while the world was noisy. God came. The Lord is with us always. Whether the winds are blowing and the mountains are falling down, or the floods are happening, or the forest fires are burning, or the earthquakes are creating chaos. Whether we go to work and there's constant noise, God is with us in joy. You know, I was thinking about silence. Do you remember? I think there's only one place where I identified in my mind where there is still silence, and that's in the elevator. The elevator. You get a group of people together who don't know each other in a tight little space. That's why they invented elevator music. Promise? Noise helps us feel comfortable because we don't focus then on the quiet, on what's happening internally with us in our spirit. We don't pay attention to the mountains that are crumbling inside our spirit or the storms that have engaged us. We don't have to associate and recognize that they're there. But when we're quiet, you can't ignore them. You can't ignore them. I tell you, for someone who is very aware of all the noise, it's difficult to go anywhere these days and not find noise. Whether you're at a big box store or a farmer's market or a library. Do you remember when the library was the sacred, silent place? You could go and read a book. As an introvert, that was my safe spot. That was my safe place. There were other silent people there. When I go to the library now in Janesville, that silent spot has become one chair in the corner by the custodian closet, separated by a wall. Children are running through the library, having fun, and that's great. But that has stolen some of my silence. And what put me over the edge, I just have to tell you because this is so funny to me. So imagine me pulling my car up to a gas pump, taking out the gas thing, putting it in the tank, and the monitor on the gas pump starts playing a commercial. I'm like the last sacred silent place, we now have commercials going in the background. There is a mute button on the right-hand side, the second one down, just in case you didn't know. We are uncomfortable with silence. Now let me share with you the health benefits of silence. Yes, I said health benefits. Silence has shown to impact your health in many ways, lowering blood pressure, improving concentration and focus, calming racing thoughts, stimulating brain growth, reducing cortisol, stimulating creativity, improving insomnia, and encouraging mindfulness. Those are all the great things about silence. Elijah's God is in the quiet murmur. See if you can finish this sentence for me. Silence is golden. Golden. Oh, it was printed in big letters in the classroom, wasn't it? And we were reminded all the time. Did you know that's part of the Buddhist teaching? The whole teaching reads like this. See, there it was, and now it's gone. Speaking is silver. Silence is golden. Speaking is silver, but silence is golden. It kind of makes me laugh that they were teaching a Buddhist ideology. Silence helps us sharpen our hearing, which can save our life, fight or flight. Silence uncovers the awareness of natural truths that are drowned out with noise. Overwhelming sounds are the enemy of deeply focused thought. Noise repeated creates a drumbeat of its own, which influences the mind. Save big money at Menards. When I go into Menards every 2 minutes, that's what I hear. I can't remember what I went in there for. Noise is constant. Pay attention. You'll hear it. Thomas More, as I wrap up, Thomas More writes, silence is not an absence of sound, but rather a shifting of attention towards sounds that speak to our soul. Can we read that one more time? Silence is not an absence of sound, but rather a shifting of attention towards sounds that speak to our soul. If you feel like you're praying and you're not hearing God, maybe you're being too loud. Find a quiet space. It doesn't mean that you have to eradicate all sound where you are. You don't even have to be praying. Just be silent. Be in the space and recognize how God is talking to you. That's the goal that we take from Elijah today. Find the sacredness of the quiet